Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark, another Mad Movie Mark movie review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1943 mystery thriller Shadow of a Doubt.
But I don't believe in inviting trouble.
Hey, I don't plan on giving you any trouble here. I'm just reviewing all the movies that have 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I'll give them each a score of 1 to 10. After I watch them and score them all, I will rank them from worst to best. I started in the 1920 silent movie era, and now I'm at 1943 with Shadow of a Doubt. So this movie has a 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics, like all the movies will have. It also has an 89% fresh rating by the audience, which is, I would say, about average. This is directed by Alfred Hitchcock, who is my favorite director of all time. I think he just does mystery, thriller, really tense moments better than basically anyone I've ever seen. And he does it throughout his entire career, where it's not like just a one-off movie here and there. I think like most of what he's done in his career, at least from what I've seen, is fantastic. And I've probably seen at least 15 or 20 movies from Alfred Hitchcock. So this is the only one that has a 100% fresh rating from the critics, which I think is absolutely terrible because he did so many movies. But at least we get one movie from him. There are just so many movies out there that are fantastic that have like a 98 or 99%. So I'm just really happy that I get to do at least one Alfred Hitchcock movie. It stars Teresa Wright as young Charlie Newton, Joseph Cotton, who plays the male Charlie. So the young Charlie Newton, who is a female, played by Teresa Wright. Her character was named after the male Charlie, who is one of the main characters in the movie. I'm also going to mention, there's a lot of character actors in this movie, but I'm also going to mention one other actress. She is Patricia Colling. She plays Emma Newton. She is the mother of young Charlie Newton, and I will get to later why I decided to put her, list her as actresses as well. Now, before I go into my review, I want to preface this by saying this movie is something that you should watch before you hear anyone do a review of it, because the ending of it is like, the ending is so good, and I don't want to say too much about it, but I feel like this is a spoiler channel, so I will spoil the ending at the end of the review. But this movie deserves to be watched first, and then you can listen to a review later. So if you haven't seen this movie and you plan on seeing this movie, I highly recommend that you watch it first and then come back and watch the review. So with that said, here's my review of Shadow of a Doubt. So when we first start this movie, we are in this scene that opens up, to me, is just amazing and fantastic. I love it. So the male Charlie is laying down in a bed, and he's in like an apartment building, and his superintendent, or the person who's in charge of the building, comes up, and she knocks on his door, and she lets him know that there were two men who came asking for him, but he had made specific instructions not to allow anyone up into his apartment who come in asking for him. So she says, I didn't let him in. I hope that was the right thing to do. You said not to let anyone in. And he says, yeah, that's great. That's fine. Like, thank you for doing that. Then he goes to the window and he sees the two men out the window, and then he decides to leave his apartment.
What do you know? You're bluffing. You've nothing on me.
The reason why this is just an amazing scene to me is just the use of shadows in this movie. There's a lot of black and white movies, and a lot of them have like shadows and stuff, but almost every scene that Charlie is in is like he's just surrounded by shadows coming from all types of like light sources, and to me it makes this scene to me just like says dread, and I don't know why. Like, it's just something that Alfred Hitchcock is able to do, that when he has like a bad person on the screen, you just like, you feel that this is a bad person. So he ends up going down. He says like, these guys don't have anything on me, like they're after me, but they don't have anything on me. So he ends up going down and he passes by them to kind of taunt them, I'm assuming. He then goes and sends a telegram to his family that lives a ways from him, and he says, hey, I'm going to come visit you guys, just expect my visit. So then we meet young Charlie Newton. She just believes that for some reason that her house is in shambles, and that she's not happy with her house. I think she just wants like some excitement or something in her life, because she seems like her life is just the same like dull boredom every day. So she decides she's going to send Charlie a telegram, but before she can, she learns that Charlie's on his way. So she's super excited, like she's over the moon. She gets to see Charlie again. This is like a great day for her. She feels like they're not just related, but they have like some other like connection with each other. Like this is the one person she feels like she's closest to.
Because we're not just an uncle and a niece. It's something else. I know you.
So Charlie comes into town and he ends up giving everyone a bunch of gifts. They're really expensive gifts too. They're not like cheap gifts.
I've never had a wristwatch. Fellas at the bank will think I'm quite a sport.
And he asks Charlie Newton's father, he says, hey, you work at a bank, right? Do you guys accept money? And he says, yeah, of course we accept money. Like, that's all we, like, what do you think we are? And he says, I got about $30,000 or $40,000 I want to put in your bank. And the dad goes, wow, that's quite a sum of money. And Charlie goes, oh, it's just pocket change for me. I make money all the time. I'm in business. I make a lot of money. And I guess today it would be like somewhere around like $600,000 in today's money with inflation.
Doing, Mr. Oakley?
Well, I suppose you might call me a promoter. I've done a little bit of everything. The only trouble I find is that once I make the money, I'm not interested in it.
Not interested in money?
But so he ends up like, he's really flaunting the fact that he has a lot of money here and that he is like a successful person. Then we meet the friend of Charlie Newton's father, and they have this thing where they try to think of ways that they're going to murder each other. It's a way for them to relax after work and to just like hang out and have some fun.
If I brought you some mushrooms, would you eat them, Joe?
I suppose I would. Why?
Then I've got it. You see, the worst I'd be accused of would be manslaughter. Doubt if I get that.
Now, some people would think that this is maybe weird, that people hang out and talk about murder with each other, but I would assume this is no more different than my fiance and I watching murder shows on Netflix, which we watch all the time. It's just they didn't have that technology back then. I'm sure if they did, they would be watching murder shows all the time too, but this is what they had. So they are, and they make it, like the movie makes it seem like this is kind of like maybe a more weird connection that they have with each other, but it's not really. You know, they are, you know, they do what they do for fun. So a little ways through the movie, those two men who were looking for Charlie, they end up going up to Emma Newton, and they say, like, she's won this contest. It's like they want to interview the average American family, and they want to go into the house and take pictures and interview everyone. So she thinks it's a great idea. You know, this is like what kind of thing she's always wanted. She tells male Charlie this, and he says, oh, I don't take pictures. I don't want anyone snooping around me. I insist that no one come to my room, no one talk to me, no one take pictures. Well, this is a little sketchy.
Well, if he's going to ask a lot of questions, he can leave me out of it.
Oh, but you could tell him so much more than any of us could. He's going to take our pictures, too.
Pictures?
You know, like, why is he doing this? So they come over and they start to talk to the family about things. And they're like, oh, I hear you have like another guy who's visiting you for a while. We're going to want some pictures of him, and we're going to want to go through his room and interview him. And young Charlie's like, no, I'm insisting that you don't do that because he doesn't want to be bothered by anyone. And then one of these two guys starts saying, well, the whole reason why we're here is to, well, the whole reason why we're here is to interview everyone. But she's like, no, you can't do that. Like, there's no way. So he's like, I bet you if we go upstairs, is there a fire escape in his room? And she says, yeah. I bet you if we go upstairs, he won't be in that room. And she says, oh, he's in that room. So they go upstairs, they knock on the door, he's not in there.
Uncle Charlie. Uncle Charlie, may we come in?
See?
You were right.
So since he's not in there, can we just go in there and, you know, look around and take some pictures, since we're not really invading his privacy because he's not going to know about it. So they say, okay. So they go in there and start taking pictures. And then he comes in the house and walks up the stairs, and he demands that he gets that film roll from them. He's like, I must insist. I don't take pictures. You must give me that film roll. So they give him the film roll, and then they end up parting ways. But one of the two gentlemen, like they're cops, one of the two cops ends up having an attraction to young Charlie.
And now I'd like to ask another favor. Could I borrow your daughter for this evening? I'd like to look around the town a little.
And?
Charlie.
So he ends up taking her out at night, and, you know, they go on dates. Charlie then realizes that a lot of things that male Charlie is doing is very suspicious. He had a newspaper, the family had a newspaper. He ended up taking the newspaper and like, hey, let's play a game. I'm going to make a house for you. And he starts ripping up the paper.
Here. Side. Go over the other side here. Turn it up there. Now, the door. Right off. There.
And then, he keeps like a couple pages from the paper, and she can't understand, like, why is he acting weird? Why is he taking things from the paper? So she ends up going and she looks at the paper and she sees that there's someone wanted for like 3 murders of elderly women who were very rich, and he ended up murdering them and taking their money. Well, I mean, this is a flashlight, a flashbulb, because he has a lot of money and he's very secretive and he's very weird. So she basically confronts him about it, and he basically says, look, I've done a lot of bad things, but if these guys catch me, it'll be the end of me. Like, you don't know what they're going to do to me. There's also another guy who they suspect of doing it too. So my hopes is that they will just eventually catch this other guy and that they won't put me in jail and they won't convict me of anything. You got to help me. And like throughout the whole movie, she like refuses to help him. Like, no, like, I'm not going to help you. You killed a bunch of people. And then eventually, so this is when the movie ends up getting really good. Because throughout the whole movie, basically, you see that he's like a shady person and that he's, he's hiding something, but you really don't understand. You don't get like the full effect of how like evil and how bad this guy can be. They like build it up through the entire movie that he, slowly, that he is this terrible person. But then eventually he starts like threatening Charlie. He starts telling her like, you're not going to say anything.
Oh, Uncle Charlie, you're hurting me.
He ends up, there's some steps that she climbs down every day when she's like taking walks or going to school or whatever. And he makes it so that when she steps on it, she falls and hurts herself. So he's definitely like trying, like he knows that she knows what's going on, and he's trying to get her out of the picture, basically. And the whole family and everyone loves him. They don't suspect anything. So then one day they are going, I think the father wins some kind of award or something at work. So they've all decided that they're going to take separate cars and that they're going to drive and celebrate. She ends up going, and we see him doing something in the garage, like where one of the cars is located. It's like a barn type of thing, and he's doing something in it, but they don't show you anything he's doing. He just kind of like walks out of it and closes the door. And then we see a scene where that friend of his who likes to talk about murder with the friend of the father's who likes to talk about murder, he says, there's someone in the barn and the car's running, and I can't get the door open. They're going to die. So they all run out there and they open the door. They get the door open and they shut off the car. And you realize, because male Charlie has the key to the car, so he's clearly the one who started it and had the fumes running, and then booby-trapped the door to close on her. So he was trying to kill her to get her out of the picture. When she comes to her senses, she realizes that she was almost killed, and she knows right away that Charlie did it. And they praise the friend who ended up saving her. But then later on in the movie, she ends up devising a way to get rid of Charlie to make him go back to where he came from. And he says, that was a really good job you did getting me to go back, because I didn't think you would be able to do that.
But I want you all to know that I'll always think of this lovely town as a place of hospitality and kindness. Home.
But I understand you guys don't want me here anymore, so I'm just going to be on my way. So they're kind of like at the train station, and he's leaving, and she's like on the train with him, telling him goodbye. And this is young Charlie. And then he tries to kill her by throwing her off the train, and they start fighting and they start tussling. But then she ends up like making him trip and fall, and he ends up dying. this is an amazing scene. First of all, earlier in the movie, when the father and the friend are talking about ways to kill people, one of the ways the father comes up with is someone standing in a bathroom, in a bathtub, you just like kick their legs from underneath them and they'll die. At the end of this movie, she ends up doing that on the train. She ends up like kicking his legs out from under him, and he falls over and gets hit like another passing train. Through this whole tussle, the way they build this scene in the movie, I didn't expect him to want to kill her. I just thought they would go their separate ways. But then at the end, you realize like how evil he is and who this person actually is. Like he was actually able to charm me a lot of the way through the movie. Like he was able to charm the parents, where I didn't really like. I knew he was evil. I knew he killed people, but you don't really understand how evil someone is until you see them actually like kill someone. Then you're like, wow, this is real. Like this is in front of me. This is actually happening. It's not just a story that I'm like desensitized from, because you hear stories about this stuff all the time. You're like, oh yeah, that's whatever. But you're actually seeing it in front of you. You're seeing the person get killed and suffer and horrible tragedy, and you're actually like, wow, this guy really is like a terrible person. And then at the end, when she like trips him and he dies, I didn't expect that at all. I really thought she was gonna die and he was just gonna like go off on his own and he was gonna kind of get away with it and no one was ever gonna know. But when he died, I was like, yes, good job, because at that point you realize what he is and you want her to win. I don't know if I was really rooting for anyone through this movie until that point, because you kind of see this push and pull. Like, am I supposed to root for her? Like, in the beginning, you don't know she's in any distress. You don't know she's in any trouble. So there's no real reason to root for her or to root for anyone, really. You're just watching this story unfold. But at the end, it's perfectly clear who you're supposed to be on the side of, who you're supposed to be rooting for. And then it just delivers like the most satisfying ending you could ever have like in this type of movie. It's absolutely amazing. And it just shows the kind of story that Alfred Hitchcock can craft as he's, as he's doing these movies. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, my only down point in this movie has to be Emma Newton, the person who plays Emma Newton. Now, she's supposed to be like your everyday housewife who, I don't know, maybe she doesn't, during this time, it was much different to be a housewife. Like, these are the 1940s, it's a much different time. Maybe she doesn't have like a whole lot to do or going on at home. I don't know what her home situation is. She does have some young children, but it just seems like she's very too nice to people. She's too accommodating to people. She like explains in great detail like every little minute thing that she's doing for people and every minute thing that she's like her jobs and her whatever she's doing, and it just seems like maybe she doesn't have that much going on, so she feels like she has to fill up some time as she's talking to people. I don't know, but her mannerisms, even like her voice, I just couldn't stand it. Really, this entire, I just thought she was a really annoying character. Like not over the top annoying. This isn't like the kid from Shane or something, but I thought she was a very annoying character, and I kind of took me out of the scenes that she was in. Like I was very much into the movie and into what was going on, and I was like really entranced, and I was really, I was all for it until her scenes pop up, and then I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna go get something to drink or something. Like I totally took me out of the movie, and it's sad because this is a very well-made movie, very well-acted movie. Teresa Wright is fantastic. Joseph Cotton is fantastic. I'd never heard of him before. Now with Teresa Wright, I had seen Pride of the Yankees before, so I had seen her in something, but this is the first time I ever saw Joseph Cotton, and I thought he was absolutely fantastic as like this really evil guy who really plays both sides of the fence of being evil, being charming. Everyone thinks he's good and not evil. Very charismatic. He's a very charismatic character, which is why he's able to do all of this so well. And I just thought it was a very well crafted movie. And like I said, the use of shadows in this movie is absolutely amazing. Every scene that he shoots, there's just light sources coming from that. Like the light source is perfect, I feel like, and it just casts the amazing shadows. And when you don't have special effects like we have now, you have to really use what's around you to show that someone is evil, to show that someone is, doesn't have anyone's interest but his own at heart. And I feel like casting dark shadows all around him really does that. If you're encased in shadows, you're like a shadowy figure, and that means you're not good and that you're going to cause harm to people. And I thought they did a very good job with this. So I'm not going to give it a 10 because of the Emma Newton character, but a lot of his movies I would give a 10 to. But I'm going to give this movie a 9. I also will say, I don't know if I said this in the beginning, but in interviews, he has said that this is his favorite movie that he ever made of all time because he loves the idea of like someone who is a shadowy figure coming into a small town and like causing a bunch of chaos, which I can understand. It's not my favorite movie with him. I still consider Strangers on a Train to be his best movie, but I will give it a 9 out of 10. And thank you for joining me for this review. I thoroughly love this movie. I've seen it a couple times, and I'm so glad I got to review it for this channel. So thank you. Please join me next time when I review the 1943 Danish movie Day of Wrath. Thank you. Have a good day.